We'll do 1 hour of interaction. Today it's really about learning some basic concepts, but also learning how we can use our brain to get some hacks and as well understand how to do smart investments over the long term and also do it without stress, because that's actually the difficult part when things get chaotic and there's a lot of noise out there in this world. So I think everyone in English is fine, right? If you do the speech in English, perfect.
Well, there is the Spanish as well. What is the clicker, by the way?
Yeah, I have the clicker here. Click. Should we start?
Yeah, like, definitely.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. So, a bit about us. My name is Georg, I'm from Austria, but I live in Barcelona with Gladys. And today we teamed up to do something together. It's our first time we're doing a speech together, and we wanted to really join forces on this topic. And yeah, my background is actually in project management, digital marketing, and we are currently building a community for financial education. So we are really no advisors, not selling any crypto coins or something. It's really about understanding from the basics, how you can really build your personal investment strategy. And yeah, Gladys.
Hi everyone, my name is Gladys. I'm an expert on neuroscience applied to business, leadership, and communication. Actually, this morning I was doing another speech about neurohacking applied to stress. And today I'm happy to share my knowledge with my partner in life, George. I got really interested in investment, like really into like 1 year, 2 years ago. I was a person that I always said like I'm not a numbers person, like you know what I mean? Like I'm more like a communication. But then I realized like, well, that's something that I have to take care. And then I got all this feeling about how to apply neuroscience in our decisions. So here I am to share this knowledge with you.
Yeah. And today is really about like developing an investment mindset. So this will be a speech where you will not see any graphs and we will not do any calculations. So it's really about the psychology of money. So what can we do with the money? What should we do with it? And actually why? So I will explain you some basic key concepts that we should have learned all in school, but let's refresh them a bit. And then we combine it, as mentioned, with Gladys' expertise. And one topic, there's basically 3 reasons why we have to develop this investment mindset. And the first of all is a word that we all kind of know, it's inflation. And it basically, I will just break it down for you, is really that what you feel every week, every month, or every year happening when you go to the chiringuito to have your paella, which is now €2 more expensive than last year. Or the rents that are rising, and that's basically when the prices are increasing, which per se is not that bad for economy, but if it's happening too fast and too much, then it's actually quite difficult for us. Because all of us, we have a job, we work like several hours a week, get some money for it, and really exchange our time for money. And at the same time, if basically prices are rising too much, then it's basically burning away our money. There's years where it goes up to 10%, but in average we can say inflation is about 3%. So if you take any investment decision, you should always consider that about 3% each year, you're basically losing. And now if you think about why is this happening, so why is actually inflation a topic for all of us? So if you go somewhere and you borrow some money, you will have to pay it back. Like you will have to pay some interest on it, and then one day somebody will come and say, hey, give me back my money. And if you cannot, you will go bankrupt. And then that's it. Then you have to start over and whatever, and then, that's the situation. Well, what our governments can do, they have kind of a different scheme. They can borrow a lot of money from other states or banks or whatever, and whenever they run out of this money, they just basically call the central bank and say like, hey, can you just print a bit more money? I need a bit more time. And that's basically what's happening. So it's basically deflating our money, because the moment you print more money, we are losing the value. To put it even simpler, let's say you have a fruit store, and you're selling vegetables, and let's say you have a tomato. And every day there's a person coming, Miguel, and he buys 1 tomato for €1. And that's working out well for both of you. So basically you have the demand, and he's like the supply, and coming and basically buying it from you. The day the central bank is printing more money, this dynamic actually changes. Because the next day, you have your tomato here, €1, but then there's not one guy coming, not one Miguel, there's 5 Miguelitos coming. So 5 people wanting the same tomato. So what will you do? You could maybe set €1 to, I don't know, do a lucky punch. Wait, just raise your price. You just charge €4 or €5 and then see who will buy it. And that's basically that concept that's happening. When there's more money floating around, more Miguelitos, they're all chasing the same amount of products. And if our economy is not growing more than what we print, then we have inflation. That's the concept behind it, and as mentioned, always keep in mind those 3%. Second point, why this is even more complex and will get actually more difficult over time when you develop an investment mindset. Now you have 3% burning away, but then you kind of plan. You say, I will continue to put another 30-40 hours of work into my life, change my time against money, and whenever it's time, I will retire. Right now, when you basically go out and you work, you're paying all your taxes that you're paying is basically for older people who are now retiring, and also our healthcare system. You're basically paying the pension and all the healthcare. That's how our system works. Now we have these demographic changes that is actually less young people coming, and we are basically getting older, and we don't even know when this will happen. Do I have to work another 30 years, 40 years? If healthcare is going that good, maybe we have to work until 80 or even longer. So you cannot really plan how long you can have to play this game of putting more time to get money and whenever you can retire. And then we don't even know if there will be enough young people to pay our pensions. And maybe you're planning to retire with 4,000 or 5,000 euro, it will be just be 2,000. So even when you retire, you maybe don't have enough money. So that's another reason why you have to think about like, hey, it's not just right now the money burning away, also for the long term, what do I do with it? How do I plan for those different cases that will come up and will be faced? And unfortunately our government's not fast enough to deliver us those answers. So that's why we have to take this ownership back and think about it really.
Just let me say, like, that's a serious issue that we have. That everyone talks in the coffees, like we are having a dinner with our family, like, we cannot like count with our pension, blah, blah, blah. But like, do you really are taking responsibility of this? Because that's a huge problem that we need to take responsibility. We have to stop complaining like, why should the government, like they are not taking care, like it seems that we are just complaining and criticizing politics, but we are not taking care of this. And that's something really important. I think you are really smart people, that at least you are a little bit more awake than the rest of the people that maybe you know, that you came here to understand a little bit more about finance. So just for this, congratulations to be here with us.
Yeah, and there's something else coming now. You will see we have more cats here today than any graphics, so I hope you like it. So we all like the benefits, you're all using AI. It's cool tools that we are using, but it will also disrupt a lot our labor market. There will be many jobs that will change, maybe not exist anymore, and that's even another like dynamic. No one really knows what's happening. It's like the biggest revolution that's happening, and we don't know if our jobs will really be here in 5 years, in 10 years, and how it will look like. Which is basically again putting our theory under pressure to say, I just spend my time against money because. Ideally it's like this, right? Like with all the money you earn, you can pay all your bills and then fulfill your dreams. But if you cannot plan what will happen, if you really have like a phase maybe where you're looking for a job, this stability is actually problematic when you don't start to invest. If you really rely always on this thing that you always have to grind, always have to work, and don't have this second strategy that basically supports you if you want to say, I want to take a sabbatical for 6 months, or take a different course to take a new direction. Those things, like AI, they will really force us to do this.
And again, like you can say, that is George, but like some jobs will disappear and some others will appear. Definitely that's what happened with digital transformation. Like we have social media managers, we have copywriters, we have blah, blah, blah. We have a bunch of new jobs that didn't exist before. But with this transformation, it's completely different. All the new jobs will not be as fast grown as the ones that are destroyed. And that's something that we have to consider. And come on, I'm not a hater, I love AI, I love technology, but it's something that we have to consider. And it will be not necessary that many engineers, for example. So this is something that is kicking us a lot. And it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's about embracing it and taking things into your own hands. So Okay, but now you're listening to us and say, okay, cool, now we know those things, let's develop an investment mindset. Well, what can we do? Well, we can find some cool YouTube guys who tell us a lot of things, or the next crypto coin or shit coin or whatever you call it, so to make that quick money. But we can also start to study, like buy some books, really find out what's working, go to seminars, or we go to actually the route that most of us most likely know is go to the people that we really trust. Because first of all, in school, we don't really cover that. You learn a bit of supply and demand theory, and then in university maybe a statistics course, but that's it about financial education.
Before we continue, let's ask, from who did you learn about finance?
Self-taught.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And if you learn from someone, from who?
I didn't, but
That's a good point.
close friends probably would be.
Okay.
Okay. And when you were younger,
Sorry?
what are your biggest references?
Well, usually it's the parents.
Uh-huh.
They talk about money, which they either don't or they talk negative about money.
That's a good point as well. Yeah, that is a taboo topic, mostly in Spain or other countries in Europe. That's right?
Yes, yeah.
I think parents, definitely, also friends. But I realized, for example, that in my case, my parents, they have completely different strategies than nowadays what's going on, because times were changing pretty fast. So there are new options, and my parents, for example, they were pretty skeptic about it. And first of all, they were like, yeah, but I don't trust this. And if you talk to friends, they're completely different. They're more open to those things, and you get other information.
Yeah.
For banks.
Banks.
That's what I guess I can talk about my parents. Basically looking towards to, but nowadays we have, in my case, it was social media, it was also self-taught, and then learning about new brokers and apps and things like this to take control of your own wealth investment.
Yeah, basically, you explained it already in the next slide. It's basically how we learn. We learn from maybe some guy, girl from the bank who just tells us, oh, I have this product for you, just buy it. But they don't tell you there's a fee on it, 2 or 3% per year, and then we lose another 3% on inflation. So that's the bank side. The other one are really the parents. And our parents are older than us, so different times. They changed a lot those times. So back then, in, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s, what they could do is really, they worked, they put their money in the bank, and you really got some interest on it. Like you left your money and you earned maybe 5, 6, 7% of interest. And you take inflation with 3%.
There's no bank that gives you this nowadays.
Exactly.
That's a really good important point. You know, like there's no, the maximum that can give you to 50, like more or less, like none of them beat the inflation.
And a few years ago, there was like a minus 1% or something. So you lost 3% on the inflation, plus the bank said this is a fine for leaving the money here. And they took even 1% away. So basically, keep your money in the bank account does not work anymore. Like there must be a super magical deal, and I know it in Austria sometimes they offer it for 3 months, but then you're stuck with them for 3 years. So it does not really work. The other option is what worked for our parents is really they saved a lot of money because they put it in the bank. And whenever they wanted to do something with it, they wanted something secure, something stable. They bought a property, a house, an apartment, because that's what they learned. It's like you have to build something. You have to build your something for your family, for really to bring something, a legacy for your kids to have something in future. And that's what usually in our societies happens to most families, of course if they can afford it, but that they go for this goal. So like, let's turn my hard-earned money, the billetes, and turn them into bricks and into nice glass and some plants and everything and live in it. That's basically it. So if you follow this route and think about it and say, okay, maybe you still like this idea about getting an apartment and house, you really have to think yourself, why am I doing that? Am I doing this because I learned it from my parents and I have no clue what to do with my money that I just saved? Or is it really something that fits to my personal strategy, to my lifestyle? What do I want?
And that's a good point I would like to say. Like, I see a lot of my friends, like really smart people, really well-educated people, that when they have money, because they're well-educated, they work hard, they got some money saved, and their first thought is about I should buy something. Like maybe the other day, my friend, she lives in Germany. She's making a lot of money, working for a big company, and now she's just like having money lying around in her bank account. So she's like, I should do something with this money. Then she came to Barcelona, and then it's like, hey, I'm gonna check some apartments. Like, I see that for the money that I have, the hypotheca that I can get, I can buy something around 250, and then I have something here when I come back. It's like, but like, why do you want to do this? Like, because I have my money in my bank, but I have to do something with it. Yeah, but like, are you gonna rent this? Yes, maybe not. Like, do you know for how much you can make a renting? Well, I don't, dude, like, are you gonna put all your fucking savings in something and you don't have a plan? Just because it's what people do? It's pretty crazy. The other day I was reading some statistics about Idealista, like how much money in average you can take from a rent. It's around 6% on the investment. So, if you buy something on 200K, 200,000, you say, 200,000, 10% is 12,000. If you take out the IBI, la cuota de la comunidad, los impuestos, no sé qué, 10,000. You have to consider all these things. Buying is not always the best investment. You need to think about what is the rentability that you can take on this and take a smart decision.
I'm lucky because my family invested a lot in real estate in Austria, and we have both. Like my mom has an apartment, she rents out a few €100 each month, and she makes around like 6,000 of income just from a fixed rental that she has. And then she has to pay taxes on it, plus there's inflation 3%, so maybe it's like 2-3% that she makes each year on basically the investment. But we also have holiday rentals, some chalets in the mountains. They are fully rented out. Some people pay €200 a night. And still, after 15 years, there's still a hypotheca to pay, like we still haven't paid it back. And so you really have to think yourself, and we put this up here, is basically buying a home is not an investment.
Buying a home, that's a really important nothing.
Yeah, buying a real estate can be an investment because that's what you really think about. If you say, hey, that's what I want to do with my money. I want to have family, kids, we need something, we want to live in it. Then it's a decision in your lifestyle, how you want to live. A lot of people say, I want to be remote working from Costa Rica and it's somewhere here in Barcelona. That's a lifestyle decision. And people rent an Airbnb and have not this fixed cost.
If you buy a place where you live and you are not having a passive income of this, it's not an investment. It's un coste prorrateado, podemos llamarle, ¿no? Pero no es un investment. Maybe one day you want to sell. Yeah, maybe. Let's see what is the attachment with this house. And if you are really planning to sell, you need to think about like what it makes a good investment is thinking buying a price lower the market. And for this, you need to understand how the market works. And plus, if you ask for an hypotheca, there is no bank that can give you an interest fijo. So you need to think about the IVA that you pay on top of the buy that you're making, that's a cost, that's a tax that you're paying, plus the IBI, plus la ventana que se rompe, no sé qué, no sé cuántos, plus the impuestos, the interest that you pay to the bank. So if your house costs 200K, 1,000K, actually you're paying more than that. And you need to make a strategy, like it could be a good investment, but just like make an exit, dude. You're gonna put all your money there, like just don't take a decision because, invertir en un inmueble es una buena decisión, like, well, like, depends. Just make a smart decision.
And we understand it's a very complex topic, like, again, we're not financial advisors. If you want to go for real estate, the message is just make a plan. It's a business plan that usually goes 20 to 40 years. You should think it through. We'll put it on Airbnb. Well, maybe nice idea, but if the government here changes it and says there are not more Airbnbs allowed, maybe my business plan is fucked after 6 years. And now I have to give it a social housing and I just rent 600 and not like 1,000 a week. So those things change.
Well, the new regulation this year came up.
Yeah.
Like you can count as like, yeah, let's buy an apartment. Like prices of the renting are increasing all the time. Wow. You know what the regulation that happens this year. Like you cannot put the ranking higher from the last contract. So what happened with investment, right? You put all your money thinking about like relying on the decisions of your government.
But I would say also, in today's world with the coming up of the rates, for example, this changes a little bit because then it becomes an investment, right? You still own diversified portfolio of rates, which then generate income, you have no maintenance costs, and there is an investment although not leverage. So that's the difference.
If you make a plan, it could be. It could be.
Yeah, it's really, we come towards this, it's really also a decision about your investment style. I fully understand that people, they say, I love it, it's something tangible, I can touch it, I love buildings, houses, it's something I can go, I can check. I even love to manage that somebody lives there and do all of that. So it's really an investment decision you have to take. And if you say, that's what we want to make you aware of, if you don't really have a clue, think it through, because buying a house or an apartment is much more complex nowadays than it was maybe 20, 30 years ago. So, okay, now we got this. We have all those problems where we have to develop an investment mindset. Maybe buying a house or flat is not right now the right idea. What can we do? Well, Gladys can basically tell it herself. She did something. Most of you know the concept, but we'll start again from the basics. She decided to invest in a company. Back then, 10 years ago, she worked for Apple, and she really liked the company, she believed in it, and it would grow, and she decided to buy a part of the company. She basically gave money to this company, and she got something back, stock, acciones. So she got some certificates, online, where they basically say she has some percent of the company, the small toe of Steve Jobs, or basically a small part of the company, and whenever this company makes more money, she also makes more money. That's basically a stock.
So I was very lucky because without knowing exactly what I was doing, because I was working for Apple, and one of the benefits of being an employee was like, hey, like buy some stocks a little bit cheaper than the price of the market. And these 3,000 euros, dollars to be more specific, after 10 years, it turned 50,000 today. Without doing anything, just investing 3,000 euros. What is pretty crazy if you think about it, Because, like, tell me an investment that can give you this huge percentage of return with just like risking 3,000 euros.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's more strategies which are next level. Options trading, yes. We will not cover this today, that's really advanced level.
Yeah.
But because we don't want that. We don't want to sell you an advanced strategy advice where you don't know the basics or not clear about the basics. So that's always like something you have to consider. So let's go.
And also because it's different trading than investment.
Yeah.
That's really.
So basically, if you say like, okay, Gladys had this lucky shot, or she worked for this company and she really understood it, but I don't have an idea, or I don't really have an idea about which company I want to buy. And it's like, I don't know, my parents drive a BMW, should I buy it? I'm not sure, I'm not aware of the market of automotive. So if you're unsure about that, there's an easier version. And that's something you should all consider, because it's basically our new savings account. It's called ETFs. Let's start again. We have basically something called funds, fondos de inversiones. So if you're not sure if you want Apple or Microsoft or Tesla or Alphabet or Google, you can take a fund. They basically put different stocks together, like a bouquet of flowers. You put it all together. For example, there's one called S&P 500, Standard & Poor's 500. It tracks the 500 biggest companies from America. And it takes them all together based on the size of the companies, makes an average, and invests your 1,000 euro, 2,000, 3,000, you can even start with 50 euro, and spreads it across those companies. Then you own a fraction, a little bit of all those companies. Which basically means you don't have to decide on one. You can just bet or decide on an industry where you believe that America will grow in the companies because they will innovate. So if you do that, then you basically have this bouquet and they invest it for you. You can do this with a fondo where there's some managers, again, managing it and they take 1 to 3% of fee, or you take an ETF, exchange and trade funds. So if you open an investment account, you basically find this in any app. It's basically a computer algorithm, they set the rules and they constantly invest. If one of those 500 companies goes broke, you just move the next one in the line up with the right valuation, and then basically it continues. And an ETF or the S&P Standard & Poor's usually makes over centuries, if you compare the last 100, 150 years, it's 7% of interest per year. That's the average. 7 or 8, but it's usually around 7. There's years
More than the average of renting an apartment.
Yeah. So it's basically, some years maybe it makes 15, and some years that's minus 3%. But in average, if you invest long term, you can calculate with about 7%. Inflation is 3%, so we know already, okay, make at least 4%. That's an option you can do, and that's the new way of thinking we should have. That's our new savings account. If you say, I don't want to know with my money, well, with an ETF, the chances that economies really go down completely are very, very low.
Yeah, I was thinking also if you think that Asian market is going to grow a lot, but you don't really know which companies are going to grow, you don't want to risk a lot of money just putting everything in one company, you can take an ETF of the market of Asia. So that gives you the chance to start investing without having a lot of knowledge. That's I think our purpose today. It's not about giving you super advanced knowledge. It's to give you the confidence that it's something easy for everyone, accessible to everyone. And the reason why we don't have this information before is because it doesn't exist for so many years. So we cannot have references from our parents. Or the people who invested in stocks long time ago, private equity, things like this, you need to have at least 100,000 K to have this. That was something not accessible to average people, let's say. And now we have the chance to do this.
Yeah.
Speaking of ETFs, last week and last month they go really down with the tariffs for say, so it's not like a statement money. It's not going to be the 7% that you're mentioning. But I agree with the ETF in Asia. Do you have a broker here in Europe where you buy the Asian ETF?
Well, that would be another topic, interactive brokers, etc. The point about the 7% that goes down, that's the point that we're going to talk about now. What is your goal in investing? If your goal is to make a passive income every month, that's a completely different strategy. Maybe the ETF is not the best option for you. But you need more advanced knowledge for this. So that's why we are introducing these products, because they're easy to understand. And if your strategy is long-term, is the best strategy, because I don't care about if Apple, the new iPhone didn't work out, or I don't care if Elon Musk said something stupid on social media, because in the end I believe in the company that long term it will grow. So that's why you have to decide what kind of investor you want to be, and that's really important as well.
And there comes education in. We have resources, it starts with video courses, we have exercises to define also your investment type, so we have different type of questionnaires, really exercise to identify what is actually my goal, what's my time horizon. We will get there in a bit, and then we go into those details, and I think your answer, your question will be answered. We have first another concept we want to talk about, is compound interest compuesto.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if in other countries, but I know if you have stocks, you pay taxes when you get the money.
Yes.
So taking that into consideration, because when you have a bank account, you don't pay taxes when you get money in the past. Still is a good option with the taxes included, because the 7% could be without taxes.
Yes.
Whatever you own, whatever you make money with, you have to pay taxes. You have to think about if you invest in a house, if you invest in stocks, that's something that we have to consider. Whatever you make money with, you have an Airbnb, you have to pay taxes on it. Taxes is something that we have to take in consideration.
Okay.
Whenever you sell it. So
That's
if you
true.
keep it in
You
your
don't
app,
sell, you don't
you don't
pay.
sell it, you don't pay.
That's true.
If let's say you made 20K, out of 10 you made 20, then you have to pay this difference, the taxes, whenever you take out or sell something. So if you just sell 3,000, then you just have to pay on top of that. So not of what you put. So that's important. So basically, what we have is compound interest. Something our mind usually cannot really grasp that much. But imagine you put money, and we put it in numbers now for you. But first of all, we want to basically invest money. Let's say you buy a tree, you put it in the soil, you water it, and then it basically grows, an apple tree. And then after a year, you have already the first apples. And instead of just eating them or like even say, I don't want the tree anymore, I cut it away and put a house because now I want something else. No, you put more water and you take the apples away, and you basically.
That's why I say that interest compound is like compound interest is like a Sevillana. So imagine that you have a tree, okay? So this is bio, for example, and a stock. And a stock can be like a tree. Sometimes you have leaves, sometimes you have apples, sometimes not. Can go down, can go up. But you will always have one tree. But someone learned how to dance Sevillanas. Cojo una manzana, me la como y la tiro. Cojo una manzana, la como y la tiro. Bueno, cuando estoy tirando la manzana, I'm planting new seeds. So I'm having the possibility to have more trees. And that's something that is generated automatically when we have an ETF. When we buy, like, I don't know, 100, like we'll have an example now. Maybe George can explain better, like how it works.
Let's put it in numbers because then you get it. Let's say we take 10,000 euro. Again, we take the example of, let's say 7%. You will find ETFs that promise you more or less. We take just the 7%, okay? After 1 year, this 10,000 turns into 10,700. And now comes the point, we don't take it out. We don't take the tree away, we really use the apples, the thing on top, and just keep it invested. We don't touch it. So the next year, we have 10,700 where we put 7% on it. And this continues. So after 10 years, your 10,000 turn into 19,600. So it's nearly the double. So
and again, some years will be 3%, some other years will be 13%. But if your strategy is long term, that's the number, that's the average that happened during the last years, with crisis in the middle.
Just like Gladys looks at her portfolio every 3 or 4 months. I check every day 5 times. Like if you really compare between April and June, you sometimes think, oh, everything goes down for shit because Trump did some crazy stuff. But if you look at the long term, things recover. So that's basically what you should always consider is like look at it the long term. So 10,000 turns into nearly 20,000, almost a double in 10 years. So if you have a plan that you need the 80,000 for the entrada for your apartment, you can start to calculate in the long term. But let's do a different calculation. Let's say we have 10,000, and then you decide, hey, every month, I will drink a few gin tonic less, I order a few products less on Shane, and I put just another 100 euro in the same product every month. Nowadays, for your apps, you can actually set this automatically from your salary. It takes another 100 euro, puts it back in the same product. So you even put more fertilizer to your tree. And then this plan gets really interesting, because in 10 years, it turns into 28,700. It's nearly the triple. So this is the compound interest. Our brain cannot think it through that much in every year because it's always this 7% on top. It makes it very difficult if you don't sit down and calculate it through to really understand it. And if you say, I have even more, and I say, I have 30,000, then it turns into 60,000 nearly. And if you put 30,000 and another 300 euro each month, if you have a bit more that you can put, it actually turns into 86,000 in 10 years. So now we are playing. Now we have some values where we can say, okay, now we can do something more with it. In this time, we can study, we can think about what's our long-term strategy. Do we want to have kids, family, house? What do I do with this money afterwards? So it's an investment strategy, but also you think about saving it. Basically, not touching it. Don't get nervous, and we get into it. How you can manage your emotions when things go bad. So the idea is really, what's your goal? How long is the horizon you want to invest? And basically, are you doing this for your kids, if you have kids, or if you want to have kids? Do you want to save already for education? Give them a great life, to get them a step ahead in their education. Buy your apartment, as mentioned, or really retire earlier. We don't know when, but maybe you decide at 50, I want to stop working. I want to, I don't know, live off from something, from my stocks, or from an apartment that I have already, that I got from my parents, because that's also something I want to mention. Some of you, if the parents have apartments, sooner or later, unfortunately, you will survive most of the parents. Maybe we inherit an apartment, and we have to manage anyways real estate one day. So you also should consider what comes in future that plays into your in the strategy. I should go here. Yeah, great. So and really important. What's your risk profile? Do you like to jump out and take the risk? And those are basically what you then have to study. If you get into it, really understand what type of products exist out there, ETFs, individual stocks, maybe some crypto. This is really, again, we can help you with that. We have really questionnaires and tests to really guide you through it to get an understanding, so you make yourself a long-term plan and also understand, okay, am I a conservative investor? Do I get nervous when from April to June there's crazy stuff happening in politics and I cannot watch my phone and I get nervous when it's down 3,000 euro? Or do you believe in your strategy and you know that you put your money in the right products, that you really believe that those companies will work for you? Because that's in the end what's happening. While you trade your time for money, your money is actually making more money because it's invested in companies where thousands of people are making these companies succeed as well. So if Apple is growing and selling more iPhones and going into new markets, it's because there's thousands of people working towards their success. You basically just gave them more money to do it. So to some sense, they're also working for you and with you. So you really start to own something that can make more money. And if you really feel savvy and more stable, you can really go into more growth and say, I really need, I don't know, in the next 5 years, I need a certain amount because I want to have family or I want to buy a new car, and that's important to me. And here comes something that you then will learn, is the next step is portfolio diversification. Because you know the old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And if you buy one apartment or just one ETF, even though it's a bouquet with different companies, you kind of have just this one market or this one bet that you put. You made an analysis, you say, I bet on the American market, I buy the ETF for the biggest 500 American companies. Or I vote for this apartment in Gracia, let's say. But it's the only investment you have. If something goes bad there, all your money is in there. So what you can do is you can build a portfolio. And that's where education then comes in, that you start to understand what's the difference between an ETF. Maybe you want to take Gladys' route. After understanding a bit, you start to invest in a certain company. You say, I put the next 2,000 euro, I put in BMW because I believe in their cars. Or I believe in the next AI company, and I think NVIDIA will be basically the new company that really provides all of the solutions to them. And those companies, they sometimes deliver 20 to 30% of return a year. So then things get more interesting, because if you really choose the right companies, it can push your portfolio up. It can also, it goes much more down and crazy things happening. But then you can buy, with the next 1,000 euro, you can invest it in gold. And you can buy gold in a bank and store it at home in your safe or under your pillow. Might be a bit uncomfortable, but yeah, you can do it. But you can also buy it nowadays in an app. So you can just buy gold online. And this is basically, it's called hedging. So if some things go up, usually some of the positions are down. And when stocks go down, usually gold always goes up. It's not always like that. It sometimes doesn't correlate, or sometimes it does. But that's basically what you can do. This is then called a portfolio. And you should always have a bit of cash as well. Never run out of cash. Cash is what you need. Even though ETF stocks, it's really nice. Between Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you can open your app. You say, I need those 10,000 euro. I have an emergency. I need something. I need to fly home. My family needs me. You could just pay it out to your bank account and use this money. Depends on your bank, but usually within a few hours or within a day you have this money. With an apartment, it'll be more complex. You need to involve several people, sell it, and really find someone who pays it, and maybe pay some fees to lawyers to really do it. So it's good to always keep a bit of cash in your bank account, whatever, so you can live from it and really use it. And as well, if I compare my portfolio to Gladys' portfolio, she's up 20% more than I do, because she chose the right moment to buy these products as well. She did not jump on and hype. She had some money saved, and they're like, now it's the right time, it's a great, good company, I checked it, and now it's cheaper to buy it, now I invest it. And then you also, basically, long term, it pushes up your portfolio. And nowadays in your app, whatever you buy, like Robinhood or Interactive Brokers, there are many apps that basically do all it, most likely your bank even has it, I don't know, here in Spain, maybe Caixa or whatever, they usually also give you a trading account. You can just do it in there as well, and they always show you where's your portfolio standing, how many percent of money you have in each of your assets, how it's called in your products. And now, Gladys will tell you a bit more about now this neuroscientific part, okay? How we can avoid those pitfalls. How can I not do those mistakes? Because buying things is easy, we know it. It's nice to buy a new TV or something cool, or buy the next flight to the holiday destination. But the problem is as well, when should we sell? When should we balance our portfolio? And then it's basically all about mindset and having the confidence to do the right things.
Cool, thank you, George. Now comes the fun part. Yeah. I love it because I used to be like, I say like, no soy una chica de números, you know? Like, I push all the time finance. And if you think about it, people say like, money like, no es importante. Like, you dedicate a third of your life to work for money, another third to sleep. So more of the half of your time for money. So who says that money is not important? Like, bullshit. Money is important. Like, it's not the only important thing, but why do you hustle every day to work for money if it's not important? So the other thing was like, no one teach you really in school, you were saying in the beginning, right? No one teach you about finance. It's kind of like this girl was saying, like it's kind of a taboo topic, or maybe just like we have the reference of our parents. And then it's kind of like, I don't want to take responsibility of this. And then I've talked about like, the stock market, like for me, this is something like very far away. This is Wall Street guys, like I will never be able to do this. But then, someday, I started thinking, like, well, situation is changing. Like a lot of people is talking about inflation, people is talking about ETFs. I got lucky that I got someone super close to me that inspired me to learn a little bit more about it. And then I started like studying, because that's the first thing that we have to take responsibility. Studying something. Not mi primo, mi cuñado me ha dicho que. Okay? Studying. And then the more I studied, I realized that this thing is not about numbers. It's about people. And I love people. So that's what I'm going to explain to you a little bit more today with neuroscience. I would like you to visualize this iceberg. If we think about iceberg, maybe you never saw an iceberg, but everyone watched Titanic, right? So everyone knows that on the bottom, there is way more than on the top, correct? But what do we see? On the top, we see the behavior, the trading actions, and the investment choices. What do we do? And depending on our behavior, we have different results. Financial outcomes and portfolio performance, better or worse. But why the market moves?
Stop working.
Why the market moves? Because the company goes up or down? Or because people make movements? It's because how people behave. When the stock of Tesla goes down or up, it's not because the company launched a new car, that also. It's because people start buying or selling, and that moves everything. So if you start thinking, understanding why people behave in one way or another, of course, analyzing companies is important. I will say that, of course, this is important, but it's not just this. And why people buy or sell? Because something that we don't see. Emotions. Fear, greed, anxiety, and excitement. Everyone is doing buying Nvidia, or when what was the thing from China that the competitor, the
DeepSeek.
DeepSeek. What happened with DeepSeek? Wow, everyone in panic, Nvidia going down. It's what people do that change the market. And why we have emotions? Because we have beliefs. And we think in a way or another about markets and companies. So, if you think about this picture, we have Picasso and we have Dali. They are painting an egg. And how they are painting the egg? Completely different, right? Mm-hmm. And how many times we listen to podcasts, we listen to an expert on finance. That's a really good investment, and we believe them. And if I ask you, would you ask both of them an opinion about art? Would you believe them? And how do they see art? Who is right? Who is wrong? But both of them are really well-known artists, right? So what the fuck are we doing trusting other people? Why we don't take our own decisions? And that's the first mistake we do when we invest. And that's a mistake that I did, actually. I bought a video. It's not that I'm fine or not fine. It's still being a good investment. But I did it because he told me that was a good investment. Who bought NVIDIA? How many people bought NVIDIA because they really well know the company, and how many people bought NVIDIA because they think that is a good, or they heard that is a good company to invest? You don't have to raise your hand. Just take for yourself your own answer. That's the first thing that we have to learn.
No, but the issue with that is that when you choose a stock without knowing, it's very subjective because you need someone that tells you about it. Because if we are getting an objective choice, we will get like the results of the company and think, okay, the company is being profitable this year, which is the plan. We all of us don't have the time to go for each company. So if you are not an expert, and even for an expert, probably it would be a subjective choice, or you will need a recommendation. It's very difficult to be very clear to understand, okay, I will invest in this because the numbers told me this. That's the issue. That's the issue with not being a full-time job in finance.
If you want to risk your money on someone else's recommendation, it's your choice.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to invest sometimes in investigating the companies and pay a training like I did that give you some Excels to analyze really fast like the finance of a company, and then there is something that is not about finance. If I ask you when you were to school and I ask you in which of your workmates, no, like what do you say in school, like como compañeros de clase, like classmates.
Yeah.
If I will ask you in which of your classmates would you invest, would you check just the rates or something else? So there is something about like checking the rates of the company, but there is something more about something that you think about the CEO of the company, the values of the company, how the market will grow in this economy. So yes, of course, you can rely on someone's opinion, but also you can do your homework and make your own decisions. Like it's half objective and half subjective.
And I think that's the point, that it's not just investing, you have to do the homework to have the good results.
Yeah.
Because we all think like it's like going to the bank and put the money and we'll win money, and it's
Yeah.
not like that.
We go again to the same point. You spend half of the time of your life doing things to get some money, but zero time to learn how to make this money work. Wow. We have a problem. That we are here to invite you to reflect on this, because I've been through all this shit again already. And sometimes I punish myself to say like, oh my God, Gladys, why you didn't do this before? Why you didn't start investing before? Like, well, I didn't have the knowledge. Some of the products that I'm investing right now didn't exist 10 years ago. Like, it was not that democratized investing. It was not accessible to everyone. Like nowadays you can invest in private equity, that would be another topic, like with 5,000 euros. Before you needed 100,000K. So, stop punishing you that you didn't do it before, like just like start doing it now, and that's it. That's what I did. Like I took it seriously 2 years ago. I just got this good shot on Apple, but I really took responsibility 2 years ago. And then I was thinking like, why did I have all this money lying around in my bank for so many years? Well, that's it. Stop punishing myself, take responsibility, I learn, and that's it. Okay? So, so it's not the market that makes you lose money, it's your reaction to it. What happened? DeepSeek. Everyone from his family was calling him, should I sell NVIDIA? Should I sell NVIDIA? And everyone selling. Or, wow, Elon Musk said some bullshit and now the stock is going down. You know what I did? I bought more. Because I know my long-term strategy and I take advantage of this moment. So be careful with fear. And here I would like to talk about sesgos de comportamiento. It's so difficult to say this in English. Behavioral bias. Sesgos de comportamiento. So what I was saying, like investing is not just about finance and knowing about companies. It's knowing about your biases. And which biases we have? Biases are like shortcuts that your brain does to take decisions. The problem is that these shortcuts like leads you to wrong decisions a lot of times. So getting to know what I'm going to share with you regarding how the brain tricks you, I hope it helps you to make better decisions in finance and in everything in life, basically. First one is loss aversion. Losing 100 feels worse than gaining 100. And that's something that is in our brain. So that's where we are more rejecting 100 euros than having the excitement to win 100. So think about that your brain just wants two things. Your brain doesn't want to make you happy. Your brain wants to save energy and be right. How do I save energy and how do I protect you to not die? Because it's like this. Your brain is protecting you to not die. It's put you in the worst situation. So I prefer to tell you, don't risk, because that gives me a lot of pain, and this doesn't compensate the good things that I can have. So think that all the time your brain is tricking you. The second bias is the herd effect, el efecto rebaño. ¿Vale? And that's something that our brain does to belong, to protect, because long time ago, if you are alone in the savannah, you die. So what the brain does, do the same that other people does, to survive. So that's why we have this feeling like, oh my God, if everyone is investing on this, like, I should do it, I should do the same. Like, your brain is tricking you. Remember again, why you are investing. Don't follow just the trends, because it can be wrong. Okay? Confirmation bias. I'm here with the cat, like online, checking all the night what is going on. And that's another thing that happens a lot, and I always tell George to stop. Watch some news that are against your mindset. Because when you take a decision and you're so right that you took the right decision, you just see the things that reconfirm your decision. And that's how algorithm works. If you think that the earth is flat, you will start like seeing a lot of videos that justify in a really reasonable way the earth is flat. And your brain will not see anything else. So you have to force yourself to see things that are against the way that you think. And that goes against something that your brain doesn't want, because the brain always wants to be right. So recognizing yourself that maybe you didn't take the right decision, it hurts. But you need to be aware of that. Anchoring, we have the cat with the gold anchor. So that's something really interesting, and that's people who work in neuromarketing or marketing, they will know about it. So you see a stock that was once 100, and now is 700. You don't have, 100 is 70. Your brain anchors 100 and assumes that 70 is cheap. Just because you saw it before in 100. But that doesn't mean that it's still being cheap. So you have to analyze. And really, like, analyzing the basics of a company, you don't need a master in economics.
Just to add on that, it's like 5 to maximum 10 KPIs. You learn them once with some videos, and we build a spreadsheet, a tool that pulls all this data, and you have a really nice spreadsheet that basically shows you those things in future when you get more stable with it. So it's just finding the right tools and learning a bit. Like anything else you learn. If you go to the gym, you also learn to do the right moves.
And then it comes the overconfidence. You know, I got a feeling like, okay, be careful with the objectivity and also with the subjectivity. Like, you have to be all the time like aware, like having los pies en el suelo, on the earth. And talk to people that are contrary of the way that you think. Even though in that moment, like, gets a little bit of rejection, you know, like, oh, este motherfucker que piensa así, no? Overthink a little bit, and then maybe you start switching your mind. I don't want to share this. So let's talk about the brain and the amygdala. There's something really important that you need to know about how the brain works. When we get an information, this information goes through all the cortex, goes to the limbic system, and affects and goes to the amygdala. The amygdala is the system that gets like the fear and all. That's fine. This information connects with the hippocampus, perdón, en inglés ya me lío, and goes to the memories and see if this information could be a warning or not. And then, 2 seconds later, it's able to go to the cortex prefrontal, that it's capable to take a rational decision. It's very important to really go slow in the decisions that we take. Don't rush. And don't be in this hype of like, oh, let's buy everyone now. Slow down. Also, like if you want to trade, and if you want to do like option trading and all of this, great. Like that's another way of investing. But if your goal is to have a security long term, slow. And overthink why you want to do things. I invest, for example, in brands because I believe in the values of the brand. And how is this company gonna evolve? I don't care about what Elon Musk does today. Because I believe that everything that he's gonna do with this, he or whatever is in this company are gonna do with the company, is gonna be growing and beating all the time the market, and I believe in this. Don't invest in Tesla because I said it, that's the way that I think. For example, in NVIDIA, why I regret investing in NVIDIA? Even though it's still a profitable stock. Because NVIDIA is not a brand. It's not like Apple. Like Apple fans, we don't compare Apple with the last price of Samsung. We get our iPhone Pro, we buy a new one. And that's how you build a brand, and that's an intangible thing that in the finance of the book there is no there. And that's something you have to consider. Ferrari is a brand that produces so limited cars per year. So if you think about oferta y demanda, less cars, price up, how the markets are growing, how the new Asians are getting more money, like fuck, this market is gonna grow. Louis Vuitton, Hermes, all these new Asians that are getting a lot of money, and the tendency of buying will be buying this. So there is some numbers here, there is no numbers, there is like how things are gonna evolve, how behave people, how, it's like having this macroeconomic thinking. Am I right? You don't have to agree with me. That's my way of thinking, and that's how I decide to put my money. You need to choose yours. Because for me, NVIDIA is a chip. And I don't fucking care if my phone have an NVIDIA or un NVIDIA. Again, don't get me wrong, don't say, I mean, in the end, I don't care if you're agree with me or not. I'm just saying you that that's my point of view and that's how I take decisions. You have to create your point of view and take your own decisions.
I have a question. When you are evaluating these brands to invest, do you follow a list or something, or you just based on belief?
Of course, yeah, both. I mean, I believe because I follow them.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, for example, there's a list of the most valuable brands. You know, there's do you follow any kind of index, or is just like I feel this company is valuable, so I still invest in them?
No, this is not just like a gut feeling, if you mean.
Yeah.
No.
So besides, I guess you do some analysis on the.
I do analysis on the company.
Yeah, but then also what I'm trying to say is like there's always this of how brands are perceived, right? Like there's always a list of what are the brands that are more valuable.
But that's a completely different thing. It's not about how the brand is valuable. It's about like what is the impact of the company long term. How I think the company is gonna impact and innovate in the following years, and how maybe the market is gonna behave regarding like the company evolution. It's not about like if it's on Forbes.
Just to add on that, we usually check those things together. And basically, if you want to evaluate if a company is not just a good brand, but it also is doing good, it's checking how much cash flow they have.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
How much money do they make? And then there is something.
Yeah, but for example, if we're talking about cash flow, then Tesla is not a good investment because in the fundamentals
Are really good. They make billions of cash flow. They have it all in their bank account. This is the only electric car company that's making money. But just to add on that, so there is some KPIs like cash flow, which is really important, which basically is common sense. If a company makes more money than they spend, they are going on a good track. And the next one is price to earnings. So how much they earn each year, but what's the price in the stock market? And sometimes they are too crazy. Like Tesla at 200 times what they earn, so it's actually overvalued. So if you see something overvalued, you're like, maybe I wait a few months and I buy when it's cheaper if I still want to buy this company because I think they have a lot of cash flow. I can share with you afterwards as well. I have actually a blog article that explains it really good. What are those main KPIs that you have to look for? It's pretty straightforward. It's like in school when you learn something new, you have to go for it a few times until you remember it. And when you look sometimes those numbers, every company, every quarter, they usually release the numbers and then you can trade it every 3 months and see how the company is developing.
I need you to click the video for the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we're going to watch video and I want you to pay attention. There's few people passing a basketball. You need to count how many times the people wearing white pass the ball. So there will be people wearing black, people wearing white. So you need to count how many times people wearing white pass the ball. So how many times?
15.
I got it. Pretty good.
How many people saw the gorilla? How many, and the people who saw the gorilla counted the passes of the black people? Okay. This is why we put the focus. Some people saw the gorilla because they knew there was a gorilla. Some people didn't know there was a gorilla and counted the passes. And the people who saw the gorilla didn't saw other things. And that's a trick. Like that's where we put the attention. Because information is always there. And when we are consuming social media, we choose where we put our attention. And that determines our results. Necesito.
I thought so.
Pon presentar arriba.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's what el sistema, en castellano, el sistema, ya es complicado, el sistema reticular activador ascendente. That's a part of our brain that helps us to avoid, because we have millions of bits of information every time that we walk in the street or we are like doing stuff, like we don't have to be like paying attention to stocks. But what happens if we will really like absorb all this information, our brain will be like, with Cristina, yeah, apagón. And we will die because we are not capable to process all this information. So what the sistema reticular activador ascendente do? Like avoids part of information to put focus on one thing. And that can be helpful or not helpful in our market. So for example, like only seeing confirming evidence. And that's what the algorithm works. If you are pro Donald Trump, you will see content that supports your way of thinking. If you're against Donald Trump, you will see a lot of content that confirms your way of thinking. And you just have to be aware of that. The same of the miscontractory information and overlooking opportunities. If you think that investing in one company is a really good investment, like unconsciously you will start seeing more evidence. Your sistema reticular activador ascendente, you will see more evidence that that's a good investment because you want to see this. This is how, like for example, if you want to buy un Volkswagen, un Polo, or un Audi rojo, and suddenly you see more Audis rojos in Barcelona, or you want to get pregnant and then you just see pregnant people, or you want to adopt a specific race of dog and then suddenly you see just galgos in the street. There is no more galgos. There is no more cars. It's your sistema reticular activador ascendente. So remember this. I would like to give you with this message that is your emotions shapes your results, and your emotions are shaped by your mindset. Some neuro reset, how to hack your brain before. Pause before reacting. In Spanish we have this sentence of like, consúltalo con la almohada. And that's actually a neuroscientific explication, because when we go to sleep, all the learnings that we have the process to the hippocampus, and we storage this memory in long term. So if you are hesitating about taking a decision, sleep one night. Don't talk with the neighbor. Don't go to social media. Don't go to your friend that will reconfirm what you want to hear, because that's usually what we do. When we are hesitating about something, we don't call the person that will face us. We call the person who reconfirms what we want to do. Labeling your emotions, like when you panic, like, oh my God, I took a bad decision, like, should I sell or not? Like mentioning the emotion, like being aware of what is happening, instead of like rumiando, like it's really, really important as well to awake the decision. Check your alignment. You started to invest with a purpose. So when things go wrong, connect again with this purpose. That's when you start a business. Who's an entrepreneur here? Who started their own business? When things go wrong, what do? You fucking need to connect again with your purpose and your values. Why did you start the business? Because the business will not always be up. And if you don't know why you do it, what is your long-term project with this, you're fucked. Because you will be a slave of your decisions and your emotions. That's what I say, always link your money with your brain and your heart, and not your fears. I would like to come up, George, now. And you can close the game.
Yeah, so as mentioned, everything you learn here, it's all about emotions. You can do some financial analysis, but in the end, it's really about like finding your own goal. What's your purpose? Why you want investing? And there's never 100% certainty that you'll really be right. That's why you discuss, put your eggs in different baskets, like analyze, do your job, learn, study. We can support you with this. But the idea is basically that when you start to do your Sevillana yourself, that you maybe don't do it with apples, maybe you just do it with money. So you do this, and that. And that's it. Thank you so much. We can, of course, have a bit more chat. I know there's a lot of topics and we could go super deep in certain ones, like how to validate a company and all of that. But also, I think Attico gave all of us, and the ones who didn't get it, you can still pick it up at the reception, a voucher, so they have a drink for us. And yeah, and if you, for example, say, okay, I got curious, I want to learn more about it. As I mentioned, we're having an online course where you can really learn bite-sized videos, all those concepts, but also with a lot of exercises. So you can really learn, okay, what's my investment profile? How do I analyze a company? How do I really manage my fear in those moments that things go bad? So it's a basic concept that you need to do investing. If you say, I don't believe in capital markets, I don't think everything will go down, then maybe it's not the right thing. But if you think about, like, I want to invest, I believe that things go better in the world and want to diversify my money, we can help you with that. We guide you through it. It's really about education, no financial advice. And so we can be in touch, we'll be in touch. And yeah, as mentioned, we have some drinks here, and as well, yeah, our company is called Investling, so you will get also, we have a freemium where you can really test our module 0. So basically the initial one, we really go for the basics, and the first module where you learn all the key concepts. I will invite you to that. You can also send me an email afterwards. I will share the blog posts and everything, so if you have further questions, just reach out. I think you got already my email from the reminder. Just check it out, investing.org. And yeah, as mentioned, there are drinks waiting, and if someone wants to go also for dinner, we have reserved a restaurant around the corner. So if somebody wants to join, yeah, feel free. Thank you so much.